All right, so as you know, we are both very anxious people. Lots of issues going on in our mind.
Yeah.
What is one
Like, yeah.
way you do to, how'd you say it, deal with anxiety? Like, let's say it's not
Yeah.
like a panic attack, because I feel like that's a little bit different, but just like when you're feeling really anxious that day, just like a lot of
Yeah.
irrational thoughts, just like
Yeah.
everything. What
Yeah.
is one thing you do?
Yeah. So one thing that I do is definitely just take deep breaths. Just like usually I'm like, oh, I feel like my heart is pounding or like I can't breathe.
Mm.
So like usually I'm just like, okay, I take a deep breath. Let me just continue to take deep breaths, and then like usually like I find a space, especially if I have the time, to just sit down and like write my thoughts out or at
Mm.
least think through them. But oftentimes it's like, especially when there's too much, I'm like, okay, let me just put it down on paper and just like do a kind of like stream of conscious things. It's like, why am I feeling anxious today? What has been going on? Kind of like that, just for me to like ground myself
Yeah.
during that time. So that's something that's like really helped me. Like whenever I really can't think through anything and I'm like, oh my god, this is like and like I can't breathe, my
Mm.
chest has pressure, like there's so many things on my mind, I don't even know where to start. It's like all like bunch of noise. I'm like, okay, let me just write everything down. Doesn't even make sense. And just let me breathe and like let me be present in the moment of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Deep breaths, and then just like tell myself to like, it's okay. Just
Okay.
relax, write it down.
Okay.
Yeah. And you?
Excuse me. So, one thing I do. Wow. All right. So, I guess we have different like anxiety things. Well, I guess I'll just get the more general one when I'm feeling like really really anxious. What I do.
Mm.
This is one thing I like to do. Is find like if you can find a very quiet place, like maybe your room or like separate room in the house when no one's there. Maybe out in the backyard, hearing like the wind blow. You hear birds. You hear just anything, like just not talking. And I like to like grab onto something or like put my hand on like the ground, or if I'm sitting in a chair, I put my hand on the chair, like the sides of the chair. If there's like
Mm-hmm.
armrest, or if there isn't anything for you to grab on, I usually like interlace my fingers. Either put it on my lap, or if you have the table, put it on the table. I would sit perfectly. How'd you sit? Like no cross leg, nothing's like
Mm-hmm.
that. Legs are both in front of me, and I just try to like concentrate on a single part of my body, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I first feel okay. I'm feeling. You could talk yourself through this like as in your mind, or just focus on it. Like since my hands are interlaced, I would be feeling like, oh, okay. I would slowly think about my hands, and I feel like, oh, my thumbs are touching, pointer fingers are
Mm-hmm.
touching, middle finger, ring finger. It's like I feel like the feeling of my hands touching each other. If I have shoes on, I think about my feet. I'd wiggle my toes around, like, okay, so I feel, my toes, and if it's in the shoe, it's like, okay, it's feeling, I feel the socks around it, I feel my
Yeah.
shoes, feel the
Yeah.
shoelace. If I'm sitting, I feel, okay, I'm touching the chair. Basically, what this does for me is that it's basically pulling yourself back to reality. I think you covered, like
Yeah.
you said this, it's like you like to pull yourself into reality,
Mm-hmm.
or like
I
bring
just be
yourself
present.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring us like
Mm-hmm.
present. So that's kind of what I like to do, because I don't journal. I try to, but that's not one way I do it. I kind of do that just to like feel everything, relax, feel the stuff around you.
Yeah.
Right? It's calming. It's basically like kind of like meditation, focusing on one thing, and that's basically how I deal with a general anxiety. I'm just like super anxious that day. That's basically what I do. Just take like a couple minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So hopefully this helps. Just a real quick tip
Yeah.
on how
Yeah.
we
I will
both deal
probably
with it.
exactly. and we'll probably like drop more, and hopefully if like this is used for anyone, we'll like drop more of like what we do for certain things. And like I know we've talked about a little bit about this before, but now we can go like into detail and like what's really helped us and what helped you. Also, I've been taking a mindfulness class in psychology, so they have a lot of stuff where they're like, this is what helps, this is what you can do, how to meditate and stuff like that. So y'all can be part of the journey.
Tips. Tips and tricks.
Exactly. Yeah. Quick plug would be like, oh yeah, like one of my projects is literally to like find a intervention on like after I figure out like what I want. This is like a mindfulness class, right? So then I'm like documenting it every day to see like how it affects me, and I'm actually like operationalizing it, meaning like I'm writing down like how to track if it actually helps me or not, so that I can like, you know, share the results with all y'all. And
that's
you.
Good, that's good. That's good. So yeah, hopefully this little short video helps. We'll be adding more tips later on. All right. Thank you to everyone.